Hello everyone, and welcome to Open Mic Gripe with Jeffrey Ide
and Jay Rice,
the place where serious and silly complaints come to chat.
Open Mic Gripe is a weekly podcast dedicated to hearing your gripes, grievances, and opinions on any and all topics.
Every episode, Jay and I will have the opportunity to get to the bottom of the issues which are lingering on the back of your mind, and engage in order to create constructive conversation, using a combination of lighthearted comedy and well-formed logic.
If you feel like we are wrong, inappropriate, or biased, then call in, email, or tweet, and let your voice be heard. You can email us at openmicgripe@gmail.com or tweet us at openmicgripe, both of those, Open Mic Gripes being one word. So jump on in and gripe on the open mic with Jay Rice and Jeffrey Ide.
Hello.
Hey,
Hello.
is this Matt?
Yeah.
Matthew Devilbritson, you're on Open Mic Gripe.
Oh, great. Fantastic.
Hey, how you doing, Matt?
I'm pretty good.
You prefer Matt or Matthew?
Matt.
Okay. So, we hear that you have a gripe for us.
That I do. My gripe it's a comedy gripe. Jay might be more privy to this sort of situation than you, Jeffrey, but I'm sure once you hear it, you'll completely understand it.
Okay.
I was approached by a friend of mine who was getting into comedy and wanted somebody who had, connections to the stand-up comics and ideas about, show promotions, things like that, and got in contact with me and wanted me to co-host a monthly showcase.
Mm-hmm.
And this monthly showcase, I should have known it was kind of doomed from the beginning. Like, it just sounds kind of like a bad idea. Like, I find out that it's like at this fucking gay cowboy bar, and I'm like, all right, I'll play along with this.
How can you go wrong when it's at a gay cowboy bar?
Wait, where was?
Yeah, I know. I've been there a bunch of times. Don't get me wrong, but that's not the issue. But the issue is that I was just like, man, this is not really a really good comedy setting.
Right.
Comedy out there is what they have is they do drag queen shows, but they do them every week, so they're completely watered down and nobody really wants to go to them. They're talking about how they were going to change the time, and then it was, well, we're going to change the day it's on, and they started doing it. It was kind of like how Fox ruined Family Guy the first time around.
Okay.
Where they were like, oh man, it just works so perfect on Sunday, and you won all these awards. Let's pull what we do to Arrested Development, and we'll move it to a Thursday. To compete with American fucking Idol, you know what I mean? We got everything set up, and we had a good little run, and then they're like, well, we'll tell you what, for the comics, we'll give them a free bar tab, because it's 2-for-1 drinks anyways on Thursdays, so we'll give them a free bar tab. And we'll get a bunch of people out there because it's 2-for-1 drinks, right?
Now, that sounds like a good... That actually, as a comic, for working for free at open mics all the time, having a free bar tab, that sounds amazing,
I'm
even
just
though
happy
I don't
with
drink.
the 2-for-1 deal.
Yeah, right? So, it was a good idea, right? The only way it would have been better is if I would have colluded with a bunch of drug dealers and been like, hey, everybody always wants drugs at the gay bar, why don't you come here and sell them? That would have been perfect.
Actually,
that would have been everything aligning together,
I do know a comic in New York that does do a private weed show where basically he provides all of the booze. You pay a high VIP price ticket, but then he provides all booze and weed throughout the show.
Wow.
Well, see there, they're doing it right out there in New York.
Well, they also have a lot more. They have a lot more of an audience.
Yeah, so I was a guy who was setting it up. I would be told, okay, well, what's the date? Here, I'll ask these comics. I think that we should get this person, this person, this person. And now, might I add you, when I was booking for it, it was top-notch shows. It was shows that if you went to Comedy Works downtown Denver, you would have been paying $25, $30 to see this show. Mm-hmm. And I was getting them to play for free, do their sets for free. They ended up getting bar tabs. and and stuff like that out of the whole deal, which was good. Vince did get the bar tabs for him, but I was the one using my connections to get everybody. I was putting my name on the line for this fucking show. If it would have sucked, it would have been like, yeah, if Matt ever asked me to do another show somewhere, I'm not going to do it. Nobody showed up, and I opened them up. Vince and I helped open them up to a whole new audience, because there's not a lot of gay people that want to go to, stand-up comedy. I talked to them, and I found out that everybody had the fear that, they would be the punching bag, like spotted out of an audience and picked on for being gay, and I told them it wouldn't be anything like that, and you know what I mean? I kind of eased the fear, and Vince and I had this idea that we were going to take this to the new levels.
Wait, but now, how would a comic pick out which guy naked in chaps to pick on?
Yeah, exactly, right?
I mean,
which guy with a mustache blowing the guy next to him?
All right, so well, first of all, I have to say, I'm not a comic, and I don't know the comic world that well, other than what I hear from Jay, but I can fully identify with feeling like you've built something and then having it pulled out from under you.
Oh, yeah.
I've started organizations with other people and more or less ran the entire thing until it did well for itself, and at that point been asked to leave. I understand the pain in this.
Oh, yeah.
But one thing that is quite clear, it is very easy to take something or pick apart something. It is extremely difficult to build something. And it takes a lot of concentration, focus, and strength. And it sounds like you've got all of the connections with the comedy world.
Oh, yeah.
So why do you feel dependent on other people in this situation?
Well, that wasn't the case. I mean, I didn't want to, I had ran an open mic before, and I didn't really like it. I got tired of it. It's a lot of work. That's why I always gave Jay and Amir credit for holding the best open mic night in Fargo, by far, out of any of them.
Thank you.
Standalone better. But it does. It takes a lot of work. You got to be there. You got to be devoted. You got to, you really can't have a social life outside of that, that one day. You can't be like, oh, shit, I got to do something. If you have two co-hosts, it kind of makes it easier. But it is a lot of work. And I remember doing that, and I remembered how much it fucking sucked. And I was like, oh, that's why I got roped into being a co-host at an open mic thing. It's because every other comic just turned away from it because it fucking just is terrible.
Well,
it's just a pain in the ass.
I mean, if you want to build something beautiful, you're going to have to take all of the brunt of the weight, and as long as you depend on other people for it, you're setting yourself up for potential disappointment.
Oh yeah, that's a given. And that I didn't seek out starting a showcase. I was approached by it, and I kind of was like, yeah, I don't think I want anything to do with this. I've been down this line. It's just, and then I was like, you know what? Maybe it's different. Maybe I've matured more. Maybe at this time I can take something serious. Maybe I can hopefully build something in a area of comedy that, especially at that bar with the people that I would reach out to, that would be like, hey, maybe I'd be introducing a new audience to Denver comedy. And I thought, well, it might be best for comedy if I did it.
And I appreciate that. Like that's one thing is I don't like when comedy seems stagnant, where people are like, hey, comedy has to be done this way, and this is what we want to see. I always want to expand the scene and get something different, get a different audience in there, bring up different types of comics, comics that might not be comfortable going to what I would consider a regular, I'm doing air quotes, regular open mic.
We have to come up with a sound for air quotes, like...
Yeah,
I think that's an awful one.
A bell you can just ding in between it.
So most of the people who are going to be listening to this are not comedians.
Mm-hmm. Oh, really? I was going to post it. I have a pretty decent following on Twitter. I'll probably bring back my Facebook at some point, put it on there. But I'm trying to think. What audience do you guys have? Intellectual, snobby atheists?
Well, no way. That'd make me look stupid. No.
Yeah.
No, I guess what I'm asking,
liberals.
what I'm asking for is this is a great gripe. You're being constrained in your creative endeavors. So how can the public understand this? What kind of comedy should people be asking for?
Well, I don't really know. I mean, what are they really searching for? When you're going to a comedy club, you're looking for enjoyment. You're not looking to have a miserable time. I mean, some fucking people that sit at comedy shows, you're kind of like, wow, if you're this fucking miserable, or you're this belligerent, drunk cunt, like, why do you have to go ahead and yell and ruin it for everybody? Why can't you just go somewhere else and do this? You know what I mean? There are those kind of people, but I think comedy, it's a pretty wide variety of people and what they're looking for. So,
it's very individualistic. I mean, that's the thing. If you would say, "Hey, we're going to go to a band tonight," somebody wouldn't just say, "Okay, I like bands." They'd say, "What type of music is it?" Yeah. But you never say that for comedy. You never say like, "What type of comic is it?"
But isn't spontaneity an important part of humor?
Yes, it is.
Well, it depends.
I would think it is.
Well, it depends on... See, that's just another thing. And like George Burns, very famous comedian, he did not deviate from his... Like, he didn't... Like, there's a story about him changing one word in his set, and it didn't get the laugh that the other word got, and he's like, I'm never doing it that way again. He had there was no spontaneity in his.
Okay.
Well, I think Seinfeld also says that he did that too, that he'll play away around with the wordage.
Yeah.
Instead of saying, we'll say we're instead of we are, just to see how well the joke works on that. So, I mean, yeah, I guess there is that where you would have that over just, that one word might actually change. Yeah, it might actually change the tune of a joke. It might not be as funny.
And by the way, if someone is sitting in the audience and they're that miserable, why aren't they comics themselves?
Yeah, that's a good point.
No shit. Get up and talk about your childhood or what fucking happened to you be this miserable, and you might get a laugh out of it.
Yeah. Well, a broken bunch of people.
Or you might make people cry or kill themselves. You don't know.
It's a lot cheaper than, going to therapy or fucking starting a mass shooting or some shit like all these other people have been. We had a comic out here, and I think I told Jay the story. We had a comic out here, Denver, years ago. I would say about 2009, maybe 10. He was an open micer, and he was from southern Colorado, and he went off, and he would show up at, like, open mics here and there. His name was also Matt. I can't think what his last name was, but anyways, he went back one night and killed his, like, mother-in-law, his father-in-law, and then his wife, and they were all three in three different locations. He went on a little bit of a spree and just murdered them all. And I don't think we ever really got the true story, but, I mean, when that little thing came out, was it The Guardian, that said that comics are more homicidal and suicidal than any other form of artist out there? I thought that, I was like, well, I know a little bit firsthand that might be a little bit true.
Well, can you imagine any form of therapy where people were laughing at you when you were exposing yourself and good things coming out of that?
Well, I mean, when you're really searching for that laugh, I mean, you got to keep the audience involved, and you kind of got to, you know what I mean? You're playing off the audience. You want them to laugh at you, but,
so
I mean, in a way, it is kind of sick and twisted, though, that they are laughing at your shortcomings in life.
Well, yeah, like I said, nobody wants to go out to, like, I say one reason why it's hard for me to write jokes is because I've actually lived a pretty privileged life. So it's like, nobody wants to come to a show and see me talk about something and then feel worse about themselves. They want to go, they want to watch somebody up on stage talk about how depressed they are, how overweight they are and whatnot, and be like, yeah, that guy is a fat asshole. I feel great about myself.
Yeah, it's the same reason why assholes go to Walmart at 3 o'clock in the morning and see the third shift crew. The fucking Chud Society that's out there. Yeah, it's the same idea. But we're straight off from the gripe. I got to get to the part where they ousted me out of the fucking show.
Yeah. Okay, I was gonna bring us back to that, but yeah, thank you.
Oh yeah. Sorry, that was my bad on getting off track about shooters and homicidal comics. So what had happened at this point, we had, the first show was a huge success, right? We had a standing room only, and the place was packed shoulder to shoulder. It was fantastic.
Okay, and just a clarification, who hosted this show then?
What?
So was it the drag queen that actually hosted this show? I guess I'm wondering...
No, she was running, but it's weird. The drag queen was actually dressed as a man at the time because he's the manager of the bar. Okay. So at the time, he was just running the sound. They had the sound in a little special booth over there off of the stage, and he was running the sound for us. Vince and I were the hosts.
Okay, I wanted to know that. I wanted to know who the face of it was.
The face of it was.
And so it was both of you actually hosting it.
Yeah, we were. And what had happened was, Scott is the guy who used to run the sound for us.
Uh-huh.
And Scott was the guy who was running the sound, and he was a drag queen, so he's used to being really catty. So he said something about like, yeah, you need to hold the microphone close to your face, and I was like, I was fine. The people heard me or whatever, but that's fine. I'll go ahead and change it. Next month, right by my face, fucking did well. A couple of guys bombed on it the second time. My first time, better than my first time I showed up at it, and what happened was, at the end of the night, I had asked the comics there on the, who did the show, and they said, I was like, hey, they're like, yeah, we love this room. The only things we want to say is, they had like the secondary. We were off in this little small room, off in this gay bar, and the big area that they have out there for like square dancing and stuff like that. They had music playing really loud, even though there was a double door shut. There was like a walk-through area for the bar. Yeah. That you could still hear the music playing, so it was kind of distracting. And I was like, hey, Scott, I was like, is there any way that, my buddy Steven, who just, crushed and headlined tonight, said, this place would be far better if you could, like, turn down the music just slightly out of that one monitor coming in here so you don't get drowned out. And he just flipped shit on me, I figured since he gave me constructive criticism, I could do it back to him. And all I asked was just for, hey, can we have a mic stand?
Yeah.
I know you guys have one. Can we please use it? Because some people would prefer to use the mic stand. I'm at that point where I actually like using a mic stand rather than holding it. It's nice. You can, you can move your hands around, you can get more active in a joke and whatnot, and he flipped out on me and was like, yeah, he's like, well, you need to learn how to hold a microphone in the first place. And I said, well, we all can't be, drag queens lip-syncing songs into a fake microphone, and come off with the kind of range that you do. And shit almost went down that night, and I had to hold back from letting this motherfucker out. And I'm not even that big of I used to be a violent asshole, and I stopped, and I would never, like, strike a person as far as I'm concerned. I wouldn't unless I was in danger. But, man, just crawled under my fucking skin.
You just went through a violent asshole stage?
Yeah, I used to. I just used to be a fucking prick. But I got out of that, and
basically birth until about a few minutes ago.
Then he found Jesus.
Right? So he got under my skin. Maybe it was cocaine I was doing. I was pretty high that night too, but I'm not going to say it was all my fault or all his fault. We all have to take some of the blame.
Cocaine's fault. I mean, everybody's to blame there.
Right, I don't go through that dealer anymore.
I have to ask you though. Well, why did you even put up with it?
That's what I said, and I was like, I really don't have to put up with this bullshit. I was like, Vince can handle his own. I've got him in the loop with some comedians. He can play off of this or that, and maybe he can take it over. And he took it over for the next month because I told him, look, this isn't about you, Vince. It's about Scott, and I cannot stand this fucking prick. I try to, I have ideas about making the show bigger and better and doing it for free, and more money comes into his bar because he wasn't paying us. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And then they screwed the comics on the bar tabs. It was supposed to be unlimited the second time around, but they said they had a problem, a glitch computer, and gave the comics gift certificates for like $20. And I was like, this is kind of shitty, These guys are, taking money off their own, taking food off their own table here and deciding to come out here and play this for some drinks, Mm-hmm. And you're sitting here, even making even more of a killing off of it. And I look like a liar because I promised them free bar tabs, so I covered a couple of the comics' extra drinks out of my own money, and just because I felt like a dick, and they were my friends, and I couldn't let them, deal with some shit like that, because that's terrible when you're promised something and then it doesn't show up that way. I didn't want them to blame me, so I explained the situation, paid them out of my own pockets for their extra drinks. You let them use the rest of my drink card, things like that, tried to remedy the situation, because I didn't want a bad thing to come about this. And I told Vince, I said, Scott really gets under my nerves, and I think for the best thing for this show would be if I walked away from it. Which I had no problem doing. I walked away from it. The next month, they had a show there where it was the anniversary of the bar, so they gave out free drinks to everybody. So they drank free drinks, and the show had some pretty good numbers, but I was like, thinking in my head, I was like, that might be just because there was free alcohol involved that, this number started showing up. Who wouldn't show up for that? I'd listen to fucking Hitler talk if there was free booze. You know what I mean? Just
well, he is a great orator.
Yeah, I'd show up, I wouldn't be like wearing an armband at the end. Well, maybe if I was drunk enough, but I don't think I'd ever get that drunk.
I don't think Hitler would be speaking in a gay bar.
Hey, you never know. I have blonde hair and blue eyes. There's some traits about me you might like, We both might vote for Trump, No, I'm joking.
So, okay, it sounds like this Scott character didn't think he was getting a good deal, and it sounds like you didn't think you were getting a good deal. This may sound like a really stupid question, but this is for you and Jay. Is there such a thing as a comics union?
No.
Why not?
No, it's like pro wrestling. They're all private contractors.
Well, why didn't you start one? I mean, this is an opportunity to say this is.
You couldn't really have it. You imagine how disastrous that would be? Because there are some people who are terrible. Know it was going to be terrible.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, if you had a comics union, how would that work?
And I think,
you know what I mean? There's just it is. It's like a one-on-one kind of deal.
Yeah, and I think with that it would be too difficult because, like you said, I mean, a lot of comedy is very individualistic, and people not all comics across the board, but a lot of comics are out for themselves. And they want to deal with themselves. They're the best. They think they're the funniest, and they don't want to deal with other comics.
Well, you just need to come up with the code of comics. Give everyone hugs when you see them.
I would.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about if I'm going to post this one up here. You're talking about comedian socialism, and I don't think it's going to end well. I don't think it's going to end well.
So I think my question is: it sounds like you actually walked away from this show.
Oh yeah, but this isn't the part where it got to my gripe. I was okay with this.
Okay.
I was fine with this. I said it was the best for the show. I thought I got Vince to a place where he could go ahead and take over the show, maybe. And I was looking for a co-host for him to try to fill my spot,
Mm-hmm.
And we went back and we were at Charlie's one night just drinking. It was during Gay Pride, and he asked me flat out, he was like, man, will you please come back? He's like, I wanted to start this thing with you. It sucks you're not here. I really want you to come back. And he asked me 3 or 4 times that night. And then finally I said, you know what? I was like, yeah, all right, I will. And he said, Scott is not going to have anything to do with the sound anymore. He is an asshole. He has pissed off a bunch of my friends and people I've dated over the years. And at the beginning of their friendship, Scott pissed him off. So I was like, well, maybe Scott's just a fucking prick, and I don't like him.
That's
and
why
maybe
Scott owns his own business.
Well, no, he's just the manager. He doesn't even own the fucking joint. He's just the manager.
If he calls the shots, he wins.
I'm brought back into this thing, so I start looking for comics and stuff, and we start hitting up some big name people, and they start saying yes. And I asked Vince, was like, "Hey, do you want me to grab this person, that person?" Never heard back from it. All of a sudden, the flyer comes out, and I'm not on it. And then he's like, "Hey, are you gonna come watch my show?" And I'm like, "Are you fucking serious, dude?" Actually begged me to come back, and I fucking said yes. And then you're going to go ahead and do... That's when I took it personal. When I was like, there was no need for this. If you wanted to just keep your fucking show going, keep it going. You didn't have to ask me that. I was clearly still his friend, even after leaving. But then when you asked me to come back, and then you don't put me on this huge fucking show...
And you're saying that basically he used you for your connections for that show.
Well, I don't know what fucking happened to this whole ordeal. I mean, if he had, buyer's remorse on the whole ordeal or what, but I mean, I figured as a friend he could at least shoot straight with me, but instead he left me off the show. He booked everything around it, and then he changed the date of the show to be a Friday night, which I thought, hey, that could actually work. A lot of people are more available that want to come to see the show now that it's, has a little bit of a following, and they did good numbers there. I think it was the biggest one they had. And which I thought that's great because the comics out here deserve it. They deserve to have that kind of a spotlight in the gay community and stuff. People that normally wouldn't see their shows. So I thought, I'm over ecstatic about the comics, and they're following, they're going to get off of this. If they get anything, it'd be nice. And but yeah, just the way Vince did it in on me, that's when I took it kind of personal.
Well, have you ever thought that maybe they got the biggest numbers that they got is because you weren't on the show?
yeah, thanks, Jay. Yeah, no, I did actually. I was like, well, hell, I even told him, I asked Vince, I was like, when he asked me first to come back, I said, it sounds like you're doing well without me, and you're in good spirits. Are you sure you really want me to come back? And he's like, yes, dude, I want. And he asked me. I didn't ask him. I didn't hit around the fucking subject. I wasn't even talking comedy when we were there drinking. He asked me. I didn't ask him. And then he asked me again when he was sober the next day. And then he went back on it.
Okay. Well, sometimes you just need to purge your friends and start over, man. If you can't rely on the people,
what I did.
Yeah. Sometimes.
Yeah.
And I definitely think that there are aspects of this that will like this already hit home with Jeffrey.
Yeah.
I think the point to kind of bring back that people can kind of grasp onto and understand is that idea of taking so much time in building something and then just having it taken away from you. Like I've thought about
it's more than personal.
Yes, and I've thought about taking a little bit of time away from comedy for myself. But I know that once I would do that, I would never get.
It's so hard to get back.
Yep, and I would never get my show back. And that's a big reason why. It's not that I want to quit comedy, but there's definitely personal things happen in your life, and you feel like what, I need a little me time, and I haven't had the chance to do that because for the longest time I've been I do have kind of co-hosts, but they're not there in the way that Amir and I used to both show up. We'd both set up sound. We'd both be there together, and really taking that brunt of work off of the other person. And right now, the co-hosts I've had, they'll host the show, but a lot of times I'm still going there and setting up the sound, setting up the tables, and getting everything ready.
Yeah, you get used to being the structure. You know what I mean? But wouldn't you? But hear me out on this, Jay. Now, if you and Amir's friendship is what actually got you guys to host that show, am I right? That it's you two as the host, that were the host of that open mic night there at the Pickled Parrot?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. And now imagine if you turned your back and backstabbed Amir, or if Amir backstabbed you. And I don't mean in the way that you guys backstab each other, kind of fuck each other over in a funny way. Yeah. That's really mean, but still kind of funny because you're friends. But in a conniving, deceptive kind of way. Right. Where you realize, wow, this person really wasn't my friend at all. They were looking for a business angle out of the deal. Right. And I got the wrong idea about what a friendship was.
Yep, I'm completely with you because I would realize in that moment that person, Amir, was never really my friend. I mean, I think one thing that's interesting for me in this kind of sense is I don't have a lot of friends, and the reason why I don't call a lot of people really good friends because I only care about one thing in a friendship, and that's
pussy.
That's why all my friends are females, and Jeffrey has a vagina. No,
pretty awesome.
No, it's loyalty. Is the main thing. Like, I don't care. Like, you can have all the faults in the world, but if you're a loyal person, that's what I need in a friendship, and that's why I only have a handful of people that I really consider friends. Because most people will stab you in the back for their own personal gain.
Yes, that's I agree with you. That's
somebody asked me the other day what friendship is to me, and the reality is when you see another person, you're evaluating the worth they have in your life.
Yeah, well, that's true.
You're saying, what can I get out of this? What can they do for me? How can they elevate my status in this world? And to me, true friendship is when you stop asking yourself that question about another person.
Yeah.
And you start
when
to
your mind goes blank and it doesn't it's second nature to you. You're like, of course the person's my friend.
Yeah.
You don't think about it. And I never used Vince for anything. Him and I were friends before this whole thing started. And what had happened, it sucks that it had happened. It's funny that this whole show's going down because when I kind of called him out on it, I was like, dude, I thought we were better friends than this, and I explained what happened, and he personally attacked me, and he called me a cokehead and all different other things, and I was like, hey, man,
Are you a
attack your
cokehead?
personal life. No, I am not. Not any more than anybody else who has a drink once a week at an open mic show to excess is a fucking alcoholic. So how dare you? No, I am not.
Okay. Okay. Well, okay. So it's clear to me, just based on what Jay told me before, and based on our conversation here, that you've got talent.
Yeah.
So don't let this drag you down. Keep going. Do it again.
No. I just do open mics around the city.
Okay.
Stuff of that. I'm just doing that, having fun. And it's actually a lot more I'm a lot more like, it seriously got to the point that when I knew that show was toxic for me, that I got to the point where I was just fucking dreading it. Seeing it on the calendar, like, oh shit, another week. And normally I'd be like, oh man, I can't wait for shows. And then I was dreading it. I realized it was very toxic for my life to have that kind of stress. So I'm glad I'm out of it in that case, but to have my buddy at the time, stab me in the back over it. And then he texted me last night claiming he was off his medication and that he had some boy issues, and he apologized, but he said, I want to formally apologize. Like, why don't you at least call me on the phone? You sent it in a text. How fucking formal is that?
Some people are
come and see
insecure.
Me. Yeah, I know comics are all insecure. Well, I shouldn't say all. Majority should be.
I don't think
I've seen their work.
Well, and
I'm not going to take it. I'm not going to take that. Like, that's nonsense.
Well,
a text message and
you
trying to be formal about it.
If you can't rely on people, then don't rely on them.
I think what you're saying is you want him to apologize in a suit, with maybe with a box of candy and some flowers.
Maybe gargle your hog.
Yeah, just fucking. Yeah, he could just show up with an 8-ball. We could get down to some serious business. We could work this thing out the way the true comics do. Self-deprecation and drug use.
Nerf gun war.
Yeah, we don't have to go out and kill our fucking in-laws. I just want some civility here.
But you're not ruling anything out.
I'm not. I said not to. I try to keep an open mind. It's about trying to be optimistic. All things in life.
Going back to that idea of friendship and loyalty, just in terms, I did have to say to Jeffrey, I was like, Jeffrey, okay, if we do this podcast and at any point we actually get some like backing behind it, I'm like, is there a point where if they said, hey, Jeffrey, we want you, forget that other guy, would you do it? And I needed him to promise me that it was...
He's not going to boot you?
What's that?
You're not going to boot Jay off the podcast if you get a little bit of, sponsors, and, you have to start doing live reads for fucking Dollar Shave Club.
So I actually had to, my trust in Jeffrey had to build a little bit.
I appreciate Jay's humility, but we both know where the talent is.
Yeah.
So if anyone's going to leave anyone behind, it's nice to hear that he's concerned about it.
Yeah, and I said I would leave his ass in the dust.
Clearly we know who's Garfunkel and who's Oates of this podcast.
Well, only one of us can actually land a joke, so...
Yeah. That's, yeah. And I figured because this could, branch out to so many people that it would probably be a quality gripe to have. And I tend not to voice that kind of, my own personal life on Facebook or anything like that, so I withheld from that, but I was like, man, I was so fucking pissed it actually got to me. Yeah. And I was like, oh, this is actually perfect for Jay's podcast.
Mm-hmm. I'll get him on this podcast.
Jay's and Jeffrey's.
Yeah, we're gonna get Vince on this podcast.
It's already
How we're gonna
started,
do it,
you
right?
bastard. This is now known as Jay's podcast.
Yes.
Jay, sorry. Well, sorry. Who's Garfunkel now?
That's right. Maybe we should actually get Vince on the phone right now.
Yeah. Who's Holland? Who's fucking Oates? Yeah. Getting the pussy now.
So we did a little prep work, and we have Vince on the other line, and we'd like to put him on. He's been listening to the whole thing.
Okay. Is this that radio bit? Is this that radio bit that everybody assumes is real, but they haven't figured out that it is clearly not? It's like when they have that 1-800-Flowers thing, and they're like, oh, we're going to call so-and-so up, and it's the wife on the other line. The husband sends it out to his secret girl on the side.
What?
You notice that?
Happen.
I know, it's fake. You can't do that. It's against the law. Like, there's like a 1996 law that came out that stated that you have to tell somebody beforehand that they're going to be on the radio, and you can't exploit them in that kind of way.
Is
and
that
so they
true?
always try to, yeah, it's true. That's why those things are fake. If you ever hear like a prank call on the radio, it's fake. All of that is, and it's all mostly rip off of old Jerky Boy material.
Right, but does this pertain to podcasts?
No, I don't know. See, I don't know about that medium. I think this is kind of like the drone level. You know what I mean? Where it's like drones are so new, they have to now create the laws against them, you know?
Good, because
Like, this is what it is with podcasts. It's a new medium.
for a second, I thought you were really putting a stop to our Stranger Anger series, where we just call random
Yeah.
strangers and have them gripe about stuff.
Oh, God. But, you know, you had Rob Sanford on, right?
Yes, we have.
Love Rob. Rob is fantastic. Funny guy. Always hilarious. Always a good time.
Yeah, no, actually, but just so people know that Rob actually probably won't be out until after. He probably won't be out for a while. His episode. But.
Yeah. Stay tuned.
Are we legally binded to know what the fuck happened? Is it going to hurt his case, or has the case already been closed?
We're not at liberty to disclose any information about
Yeah.
that until we get permission.
Yeah. Well, Jay, just text it to my phone. It's that same number you called me on the first time. I don't have Facebook anymore, so I can't talk to Rob. Now if he's, going to be in the slammer.
I have to say, though, after just hearing the story, please stay tuned on that one, because it is a great story.
Yes. And
Jesus.
he let it all out.
Yeah.
Man, did he let it all out on the podcast?
He
Yeah.
did.
Oh, fuck. Now, dude, when is this thing dropping?
We don't know. It depends. It's up to him whether he wants to release pre-trial or post-trial. So.
Yeah, I would say probably post-trial. If
Yeah.
it's something... Knowing Rob, post-trial. Let me speak on Rob's behalf. He's a good boy, but I think what would be smart here is, let the court decide before you go ahead and throw down some audio that might, incriminate him.
Right.
No, I was very impressed by the entire story, but stay tuned for that one anyway.
Oh, God, man.
But,
that is fantastic.
Again, thank you so much for sharing your story as well.
Oh, no problem. I hope this goes well for your guys' podcast. Maybe it'll open some different things up. Maybe you'll have some other people come on.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. And if you have any other comic friends who are like, I want to fuck this other comic on the podcast, go ahead and point them our way.
All right, Jay, are you ready for my favorite part of the show?
Okay, yeah. I am ready.
This is a section of the show that we like to call
Stranger Anger.
Go ahead, explain it.
Stranger Anger is basically where we contact a random number and try to get them to gripe about something. So
By random, we mean a number completely dialed into the phone from around the country.
So anywhere in the U.S., basically we get the first part set up so we know approximately where we're calling, but then it's just picking out random numbers, trying to get anybody to answer, first of all. Trying to get a real number,
Right.
first of all, and then trying to get somebody to answer and then gripe about something.
Now, of course, we don't want to bother people, but at the same time, if they're willing to share a couple minutes with us, we'd like the opportunity to hear what's on their mind. And it could be about anything. It could be about their colleagues. It could be about, their experience with customer service. It could be about...
Us calling them.
Could
We
be
don't
about us
know.
calling them. So let's go ahead and give it a try.
Hello?
Hi, so sorry to bother you. You're with Jeffrey and Jay on the podcast Open Mic Gripe. If you have 2 minutes to spare, I would love to get your opinion about something.
Okay.
So we've been calling random numbers and trying to get people to feel free to express any gripes or anything on their mind. Would you care to share with us?
I guess so.
All right.
Excellent.
May I ask your first name?
Julia.
Julia? Thank you so much for your time.
So, Julia, yeah, if there is just anything that's bothering you, we would love to hear it.
Well, there's a lot going on in this world.
Where are you from, Julia?
Right here in Bangor, Maine.
Bangor, Maine? We're calling from Fargo, North Dakota.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
A pleasure.
Nice to meet you.
There's a lot
It's
going on in this
beautiful.
world.
It's beautiful here.
Yeah?
Good weather out there?
The weather's gorgeous. It's a beautiful, going to be 4th of July weekend.
Excellent. You excited for 4th of July?
Well, no, I'm not going anywhere, but my flag's out, and I'm very patriotic.
Awesome.
Okay.
Okay. The only thing that bothers me is I'm not ready for all the voting coming up. It's not an easy thing, but I don't like what's going on in our country. We've never put up with this stuff before. I mean, I'm not a politician, so there's a lot I don't know.
Sure.
I guess what in particular are you talking about?
Well, all our presidential voting is going to be coming up. We've all got different ideas from TV, the paper, and it's going to be a hard thing to know who to vote for this United States.
Okay.
And we've all got our own opinions. Like, I like Obama. A lot of my friends don't.
Really?
But I do. And I never thought I'd live first to see a Catholic president, then to see a colored president. Are we going to see a woman next?
Personally, I'd love to see that.
Well, I would too, but I'm 82 years old, and I didn't think I'd live to see what I've seen.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
sure you've had to have seen a lot in those 82 years.
Oh, yes. Yes.
No,
I love my country. I love it.
well, I'm happy to have you in this country. It's very interesting. So, in your opinion, do you think the political process is too confusing for the average voter, or are there too many?
Well, sometimes when the political people scream and holler, like Trump did, for instance,
Yeah.
you don't want that.
Right.
I don't
Right.
want to see a president that's going to screech and holler and scare the people.
Right. It definitely. So I take it that you're kind of against all the negative campaigning that's done.
I don't like some of the screaming because we got enough going on right now without, having people running for president who shouldn't.
Right. Well, there's so many
Just
people.
in my opinion, not everybody's.
Tell you what, your opinion is very valuable.
Thank you.
No, it's very interesting. We want to get people, of course, from all different political spectrums and all different concerns. But this is on everyone's mind right now.
Yes, it is.
How do you
That's
think the
all.
United States is viewed internationally?
I beg your pardon?
What do you think people from other countries think about the United States right now?
Well, they don't like us, a lot of them. It took us a lot to get Germany and Japan to like us, and we succeeded. But are we going to get all the rest? And look what's happening in Greece. I mean, they're going bankrupt. I don't want to see that come to our country.
You seem to be very well informed.
Just hope stuff like that don't happen.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Can I? So since you're 82, you've contributed a lot to this country. Is there anything that you'd like as a message to pass on to the next generation?
Well, I'd like to see peace to our world.
Oh, that's
We've got too many young people coming up. We've lost enough young people in this world. I don't want to see it. I've lived through a few wars. I don't want to see all this happening to us. And I can't stop it. I probably won't live to see a lot of this go on.
Well, I'll tell you, you're an important part of the conversation. And people are going to talk about this. People are going to share their opinions with us. And hopefully by having conversations like this, we can really come to some peaceful conclusions.
Well, I hope people stop and think. But, the whole world's going nuts right now.
Seems like
What's
that.
happening in all the countries and everything. I mean, I have a grandson in the Air Force right now. Don't you think that don't scare me?
Oh, I'm sure it does. I think I think one thing that's great about right now, though, is that I think things have been kind of crazy for a long time. I think one thing that's nice right now is that we can be informed about it, at least. Is that we can kind of know what's going on.
Oh, yeah. Years ago, all we had was a little radio to listen to. Now, one last thing.
Yes, please.
Yes.
Support our veterans. I am one.
You're a veteran.
Yes, support our veterans.
May I ask you how you served?
I served in I went in right out of high school, 1951,
Wow.
and Air Force.
Okay. In what capacity
And
did
my
you serve?
husband was in the Air Force, too, but that isn't where I met him. I met him right here in my own state,
In Maine.
right in Bangor, Maine.
Oh,
yes,
wow.
sir. I love Maine. I love my country. I want you to know that.
Excellent. Well, and actually, now everybody will know that happens to listen to our podcast. So.
Okay, sweetheart. I'm
Julia.
glad you called.
Julia, thank you so much. And
You're quite welcome. I hope I added something to it.
Oh, you absolutely did. You absolutely did.
Okay,
Thank you
dear.
so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Julie. Have a good
wonderful
night.
day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Wow, that was amazing.
That was awesome. When we kind of came up with this idea, I was actually, I did say, I'm like, come on, this will be great. Everybody has a gripe that they want to talk about.
Right.
Although I am actually surprised people talk to us.
Well, if somebody called me out of the blue, I don't know how I'd react to that.
I'm not sure. Like I said, what I would do is I would say no because I'm suspicious of people.
Right.
And then, but if they gave me their website or Facebook page, I would then go check them out and find out. And then I'd probably be like, damn it.
Yeah.
I absolutely would have had some stuff I wanted to say.
No, I love this because we're going to get a whole variety of ages.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to reach landlines, cell phones. We're going to hear from people from different backgrounds. You could see here, Julia, she was a little bit hesitant to display her political affiliations. Mm-hmm. But I'm so happy she did because this is about identifying who you are as a person and what your concerns are.
And you know what? I'm just going to bring up some probably ageism. That was on my mind is when she said that she was bothered by everything that was going on in this country.
Yeah.
I honestly thought it was going, and then she said that she is a fan of Obama. I gotta say, I think we were both a little bit surprised.
Yes. No, you're absolutely right. When she said, I'm bothered by all the things going on in this country, my mind immediately went to, the recent Supreme Court decision on ruling on marriage equality.
And I guess I was even just thinking more even about just like the fact that maybe even Democrats are in charge right now. I mean, I really didn't know. That's why I kind of wanted to explain because I didn't know where it was going.
Right.
But I got to say, I had some bias that I thought it was going in one direction.
Julia, you not only blew us out of the water, you changed our perspective. Thank you for confronting our own biases.
Yes, I'm really glad. That was a great call.
Yeah,
I'm really
that's
happy
a lot of
about
fun.
that.
Well, Julia, I'll look forward to talking to you again. Thank you so much.
I like how you said that like we're saying goodbye to her. All right. Hopefully you listeners enjoyed that, and hopefully maybe one day you'll get a call from us.